After intrinsic pathway, next is the extrinsic pathway of apoptosis. So it begins upon receiving of an external signal from the extracellular environment. For example, tumor necrosis factor or Fas ligands comes and binds to the receptor over here present in the cell membrane. So as soon as the ligand binds to the receptor, it leads to a conformational change. For example, here binding of Fas triggers a change in the Fas receptor, and it leads to the trimerization of this Fas receptor, which further brings upon the exposure of dead domain present on the cytoplasmic portion of the receptor, and which again with the help of certain adapter protein recruits caspase procaspase 8 and 10 here, which leads to the activation of these caspases 8 and 10. And further, the caspases 8 and 10 further activate the downstream executional caspases 3 and 7, which carry on with the process of apoptosis. So this is all about the extrinsic pathway. So as we know, as we can say, this is the intrinsic and the extrinsic pathway. They are not mutually exclusive. They go hand in hand and they further amplify each other. I mean, they support each other and they're interconnected. You can say they're interconnected at 2 points. One is the bit protein and another one is SMSC protein. So let's see how. This caspase 8 besides 8 and 10, besides activating the downstream caspases, it also activates a protein called as BIT, which is a member of this BH3 only protein. And upon activation, this BIT protein further activates back and backs these apoptotic protein and further helps in the amplification of this intrinsic pathway by creating pores in the membrane of the mitochondria and initiating this pathway as well. Besides this, the another point of contact between these two pathways is SMSC protein. So besides cytochrome C, these SMSC protein they are also released from mitochondria to the cytosol, and here they bind to XIAP protein. These are the inhibitor of apoptosis, the protein. They bind to these and take off these from the binding to caspase 3 or 7. So, by this mechanism, it further amplifies the mechanism of apoptosis. This is all about the two pathways which trigger apoptosis. Next is dysregulation of apoptosis. What happens when apoptosis doesn't occur in a controlled way? For example, if there is too much of apoptosis or if there is very little of apoptosis, what happens? So let's see. In case of excessive apoptosis, it leads to atrophy. Particularly, it results in neurodegenerative disorders. For example, Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, Huntington's disease, multiple sclerosis. And if the apoptosis is far too low, then it may lead to uncontrolled cell proliferation, further leading to different type of cancers, for example leukemia and lymphoma. So as we can say that apoptosis, the occurrence of apoptosis, it's a tightly regulated process and it is fine tuned by a balance between pro-apoptotic protein and anti-apoptotic protein. Whether a cell lives or dies, the fate of the cell is decided on the balance of these two kind of proteins in the cell. This is all about apoptosis.